Hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
This week we are discussing the JoJo's Stardust Crusaders Part 2 of Stardust Crusaders, episodes Anubis Part 2 and Bast, Mariah Part 1. But before we get into discussing those episodes, just a reminder to hit those subscribe / follow buttons, depending on what platform you're listening to this on, and to leave us a comment or review. It could really help us get out there to more people and get us some more listeners. And if you leave us a review, we might read it on the show.
Also, don't miss our other podcast, What We Pod in the Shadows, which is a recap and discussion pod about what we do in the shadows. And we're currently discussing season 4. And if you've never seen the show, it's a comedy about vampires living in Staten Island.
Yeah, you might enjoy that if you want to hear some more about vampires, but would like them to be significantly less evil than Dio. Alright, I can start talking about the first episode then. The first episode is, of course, Anubis Part 2. Polnareff is getting a shave, but the barber, Khan, has been possessed by the Anubis stand and wants to kill him. Polnareff realizes that the sword itself is a stand and that Shaka and Khan were not its true wielders. Khan cuts himself with the sword in the chest. Polnareff tries to defend himself against Khan, but Khan is able to counter him, explaining that Anubis knows all his tricks and moves from fighting him earlier. Back at the hotel, Joseph teases Iggy with his coffee gum, and Iggy eventually gives up, but farts in Joseph's face because, of course, Avdol wonders aloud where Jotaro and Polnareff are because they should have been back by now. Polnareff tells Jotaro that Khan is not the stand's user, but a mere puppet. Khan beats the shit out of Polnareff, even knocking him into a mirror. Polnareff tries to parry as much as he can, but Anubis is onto him and his tactics. The stand memorizes its opponent's tactics and declares itself unbeatable if it's fought someone at least once before. Polnareff realizes he can't win the fight without his rapier and calls out to Jotaro for help. Jotaro calls on Star Platinum and punches Khan out of the barbershop window. Anubis is not defeated, however, and because it now understands the nature of Star Platinum's tactics and abilities, it goes after Jotaro to defeat him next. Jotaro is able to use Star Platinum's speed and precision to catch Anubis by the tip of its blade and shatter it. Anubis says that it isn't actually about Star Platinum's powers, but because of Jotaro's nerves of steel that he managed this feat. Polnareff tells Jotaro not to unsheath the sword, because if he does, it will possess him. However, the cops show up because they were called about the barbershop brawl, and Polnareff accidentally unsheaths the blade anyways. The possessed Polnareff beats up the cops and goes after Jotaro. Jotaro is unsure how to proceed because he's never had to fight Polnareff before. Polnareff, as an expert swordsman, is much more proficient with the Anubis sword than Shaka had been, and with his speed and expertise, he makes things much more difficult for Jotaro than they would have been otherwise. Jotaro tries to catch the sword in Star Platinum's hands again, but the stand is too fast. Jotaro then decides to try and catch the blade, but then feints and headbutts the sword into Polnareff, which knocks him to the ground. The stand is like, I'm not defeated yet, because I can also utilize Silver Chariot to make Polnareff dual wield. Silver Chariot, Anubis, and Polnareff attack Jotaro all at once, which proves to be overwhelming. Jotaro decides that he needs to use his Starfinger move on them, but in doing so destroys the armor on Silver Chariot's arm, making it faster and lighter than before. He is able to stab Jotaro in the gut and is pleased that he will please Dio by defeating Jotaro. He gloats about this, not realizing that by stabbing Jotaro and pushing the blade in further, that Jotaro would take advantage of this opportunity to break off more pieces of the blade whilst it is stuck. Jotaro is now much more tired and weakened by the strength of the Anubis stand as a combatant. He realizes he needs Avdol and Joseph's help. Polnareff comes to his senses and realizes that he was possessed but has no memory of it. Jotaro says that doesn't matter now, and Polnareff needs to help bring the others. Meanwhile, the top of the sword catches the eye of an Egyptian child who picks it up and becomes Anubis' new host. Anubis reveals his loyalty to Dio is because Dio liberated the sword from captivity in a museum. The sword has outlived its user/creator by centuries and is now its own thing. Anubis plans to have the child throw the sword at Polnareff and Jotaro, but by sheer chance, Iggy jumps in between them to steal the child's lollipop. The boy trips and throws the sword towards the Nile. The sword tries to stop itself from meeting its fate at the bottom of the river by lodging itself in a nearby boat, but ends up stabbing a cow, which ultimately knocks him in the river anyways. The sword calls out to various sea creatures, but they ignore him, and he is trapped at the bottom of the Nile forever. The end.
Okay, well, there's a little bit more. Well, I mean, the blade's supposed to kind of like rust in the river, although I don't really see that happening that quickly. So I have Jotaro recounts the fight with Anubis, with Gramps and Avdol as Iggy attaches himself to Polnareff's face and farts. Jotaro says he will not go off with Polnareff alone again, which I think happens just in the next episode.
It does.
Next, we are introduced to a thin chick with smoking hot legs in a short skirt with white hair in a red hood or cloak. I'm not sure I got the smoking hot legs thing. They just look long and skinny, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, like, she kind of had, like, big feet. I don't know. But, like, the shoes. The shoes didn't maybe make her hot. And they kept, like, I don't know, I think both episodes, they just keep, like, showing her ass while she walks.
They did, yes.
Like, okay. I don't really know if I have much to say here. It's just kind of like, there's the fighting. It's just...
Yeah, that's pretty much just what happened.
It's just kind of like say what happened, because it's not like, oh, well, they should have done this. Like, I don't know.
I mean, it is funny that Polnareff is just like, well, I have this big, important sword that I need to very quickly get rid of by, like, handing it off to the police. But also, at the time, I want to shave and a haircut. He's just, like, always... I know we've covered this. He's always going off by himself and doing stupid shit.
Yeah, that part was not wise. I'm just thinking, even, you know, they're scared, or Gramps is anyway, like, to go get something to eat or drink somewhere, because they're this close to Dio, anyone could be a stand user, etc. And then he's letting someone take a blade to his neck and everything to do a shave.
Yeah. He probably, in this case, would have totally died if Jotaro was not forced to come on. He needs to change his tactics, because the stand users seem to be on to how oblivious to everything other than fighting.
I'm just still confused. Like, the Speedwagon Foundation isn't doing more things for them. I mean, I do understand, like, a stand user could still infiltrate, but just, like, their food, their drink, they're having to stay in hotels that could be sketchy. And all these things always happen when someone goes off by themselves, or it'll be down to two of them or something. It's usually not the whole group is there when fighting starts. So they shouldn't even split off into twos.
Mm-mm.
They need to just stay together. And then, like, they have Iggy now, and he can sense these things, but then he's just mostly where they're playing with him, teasing him, and then, you know, farting in people's faces. They're not using him to their advantage to, like kind of be like a warning system for them.
And he doesn't give a shit because he just wants his gun.
I don't know if Gramps could be like, using a TV or a camera or something to be doing updates. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know they have to fight their way through all these people, but and then that whole part with the kid getting the end of the sword and kind of turning, like I don't even think they realized it happened.
No, I don't think they did. They're just like, Iggy, are you stealing candy from children?
It's like the kid turned all grotesque and everything. They always get like super wounded, and then it's like sometimes they have to be in the hospital, and then other times they just like move on. I mean, JoJo was stabbed in the stomach, so badly that he had blood coming out of his mouth, but he's not in the hospital apparently.
Yeah. The only time we're going to show people going to the hospital is during the beginning of this part with having Kakyoin in there because of his eyes, and then very briefly Avdol. Notice how this time they did not fake their teammates' deaths. And also lie about them being dead to everyone else. Or at least Palmer.
God, they could have been like, Kakyoin's dead. Okay, the next episode is episode 30, Bast's Mariah. Kakyoin needs more care, so he will be entrusted to the doctors of the Speedwagon Foundation. They are at Luxor at the Valley of the Kings. Gramps went to the bathroom with Iggy, but exclaimed, "Oh my God!" at the conditions of said bathroom, and decided to wait to get to the hotel because it was basically just a hole in the ground and there was a big can of sand for wiping with. I have to agree with this one being gross. Because he's like, I could just go behind a rock. Like, what's the point of it being a bathroom?
I would not want to have to wipe my ass with sand.
And he brought Iggy because Iggy's supposed to spot stand users. He notices a small rock formation or like a boulder with an electrical outlet and gets electrocuted by it. The outlet was put there by Mariah, whose stand is Bast. So it's like he's electrocuted, and then I think Avdol comes along and he's like, "Are you ready?" And so I think they go to like a drink shop or something and they get colas, but it's like Coca-Cola. It's not Coca-Cola. But Gramps' his mechanical hand is acting up, and the shopkeeper's radio is putting out nothing but static. Gramps notices a bottle cap stuck to the back of his mechanical hand. They decide to find a hotel for the night before heading to Cairo. Metal items seem attracted to Gramps, and the radio starts working correctly once they walk away. Polnareff is having a fit the next morning about eating breakfast and is pissed Gramps is still asleep. Gramps notices his watch has stopped working, and Avdol points out that he turned completely around in bed with his feet at the pillow and is now facing north. I just was wondering Gramps not sharing with the room with Jotaro. I mean, maybe Avdol doesn't want to share with Polnareff, but I just thought that was a little odd.
Nobody wants to share with Polnareff.
The chair in the room is following him, and the door handle hits him. He chalks it up to the place having tilted floors. When he passes a girl with metal studs around the bottom of her skirt and the skirt lifts, she hits him and calls him a pervert. I said this was, it was kind of silly, and I'm sure there's a whole lot of other metal items that could have been attaching themselves to him, but it was just certain metal items were attaching to him, like these people's skirts. Just, I don't know. Who the hell has metal around the edge of their skirt?
Yeah, I'm not
Most people don't have snaps or whatever,
Yeah. I'm were they decorative or were they buttons?
Yeah, I think it was just supposed to be decorative, but
yeah.
So then the same thing happens with an old lady who has a line of snaps down her skirt, only she flirts with him, and again his reaction is, "Oh my God!" In the hallway is a cart with dishes, and the silverware flies and sticks to his hand. He freaks out and runs and realizes he's somehow become magnetized. He then gets on an escalator and contemplates that this is the work of a stand and that it all started with the odd electrical outlet out in the desert. So I don't know, like, it's like the Mariah chick is kind of, she's not on the escalator, but at the bottom of it. And she's got like this chain that comes from her skirt and it sort of ties his hands up.
Yeah.
And like ties him, like, so he's stuck to the escalator, and then, the escalator at the very bottom kind of disappears into the floor.
Yeah.
And it's gonna drag him under. So he's asking her to help him because it was her skirt that tangled him up. So she kind of laughs at him and says his name. She said once he came in contact with her stand, he'd sealed his fate. She walks away as his hands start to get crushed at the bottom of the escalator. He decides to try using Hermit Purple to hit the emergency stop button, but he's like having trouble finding it. Gramps can't locate it and starts freaking out. Avdol hits the emergency button, but Gramps continues to freak out for quite some time. Gramps explains that a stand user has magnetized him. Avdol wants to grab the rest of their group when Gramps spots Mariah. A gold Egyptian statue falls on Avdol, so Gramps follows her to the ladies' room. Gramps decides to go in because his life is on the line. So we go back to Jotaro, and Polnareff and Iggy contemplate why the other two are taking so long. Polnareff thinks they've snuck off to breakfast without them because he's obsessed with food. Avdol joins Gramps in the ladies' room. Gramps says the stand user has amazing legs, so Avdol starts looking under stalls. He has Gramps come over when he thinks he's found her, but Gramps' magnetism swings open 3 of the doors to, like, ladies sitting on the toilet. Another stall opens, and it's the old lady from earlier, and she thinks Gramps followed her. Gramps tells Avdol to run, and the women yell. They jump through a window for some reason, and Mariah is already outside. As they run after her, Gramps warns Avdol to not touch any electrical outlets, but Avdol says he already touched one because there was one next to the emergency stop button on the escalator. Avdol and Gramps are being pushed uncomfortably close together as they run, and then trip and fall together. They are stuck together like 2 powerful oppositely charged magnets. They are pissed, surprised they have both been turned to magnets, and that she is so powerful. And that's what I have for the end. I mean, this is part 1, so we're gonna hear more in part 2.
Yeah.
Will Polnareff and Jotaro and Iggy also become magnetized? How do they unmagnetize them? I don't know.
We shall see. Yeah, I'm not sure I remembered this first part, but then when I watched it, I remembered some stuff that happens in the second part.
I think they said something about, like, the escalator being steel or something, but, like,
yeah.
I'm just not sure why he didn't even just stay stuck to that. It just seems like the magnetism was very selective.
Yes.
If they were super powerful, like, probably they would have just ended up with, like, a bunch of stuff stuck to them, and then they would have barely been able to move, or they would have just got, like, stuck to a car.
It just didn't make sense to me that he didn't realize that the escalator was made of metal, so that he might get stuck on. I guess I sort of enjoyed that in a way, though, just because of my own phobia of escalators, so I'm like, see? And it's also funny to me that this sort of happened, not exactly this, of course, but like on an episode of The X-Files, they basically defeated the bad guy. Gets squished by the escalator.
I don't remember that part.
So I guess it's sort of funny to me that this came first.
I mean, I kind of like it that it's, like, something we haven't really encountered before. I mean, I guess the previous episode with the sword being the stand, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Was different. But it still just sort of ended up being like, oh, we're fighting.
Yes.
Type thing. And this, I mean, they're kind of just stuck chasing after her. So far, there's not really been a fight, but just, like, I don't know. I guess anytime Gramps is, like, grumpy about stuff, it's kind of funny. It's funnier than Iggy farting in people's faces anyway.
Yes.
Like Gramps being embarrassed that the old lady's into him and stuff like that. It's just kind of funny at this point. Like, I don't know. I know they feel like they need to chase her. I know they have to like defeat her maybe to get it to stop, but I'm thinking like maybe go away from her. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Go call the Speedwagon Foundation and get some scientists on this. How do you demagnetize a magnet? Well, magnetizing a person is definitely different, but
yeah.
Like what they could do to fix it, maybe.
I do like that. I feel like the magnets work as a more versatile stand, but also I'm just not sure how magnetism has to do with the goddess Bast. Because I feel like the last couple, or at least the last 2 or 3, I felt like their stand's ability correlated to the goddess. I'm just not sure how, like, magnets and static have to do with cat goddess. I'm like, was it this one where it was picked for a reason, or is it just random?
Yeah, and like, it's almost like her little light switches are her stand.
Yeah.
Like, she's not really controlling the magnetism. It's just like, I don't know. I'm not sure how she's going to use it to kill them. She's not like moving them or anything.
Yeah, if it worked more like Magneto's magnetism, could see, because that's almost like telekinesis in a way.
Yeah, he can control stuff with metal in it or something.
Yeah. Magneto could make Grant strangle himself with his own mechanical.
Yeah, so she's just like she's magnetized them, and then she's just gonna kind of let them. I mean, I suppose it could kill them in some different ways, but she's not really actively doing anything herself. She's just kind of like letting the chaos happen.
Yeah.
So far.
Yes.
Anyway. Maybe she does have some power over it. I don't know if she's trying to get the whole group magnetized or she's just happy with having those two, possibly. But they need to let the other guys know not to touch electrical outlets, I guess. I mean, if she was smart, she wouldn't make it look like an electrical outlet every time. Or I don't know if there's anything she can control there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think of, like, what's gonna occur. Maybe they should have ordered room service.
Of course, Bast is an Egyptian goddess. She's like the goddess of cats. Sometimes she's like a goddess of like combat or war, though sometimes that is also because she's been combined with the lion goddess, Sekhmet. One of my cats is named Bast because of the Kane Chronicles and just my general interest in Egyptian mythology. Mariah is, of course, named after Mariah Carey.
They call the wind Mariah. I thought there was this is saying that's from 1969, which I guess technically could be where she was named from, but I thought it was like a mainstream song, but I don't know.
Rocky named her after the singer Mariah.
I mean, I like that there's a lady stand user and she's given him a hard time so far, but it just seems like with the women, it's like whether they're hot or not. But if it's just a man, there's no, and I get in their group, there's not a lady to go make comments about the male stands, but they're never like, wow, he's really handsome. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 of them are like all about their looks or something, but
yeah.
It's either like Polnareff's trying to get with her or something.
Yes. Either he wants to get with her or he's like, you are the most repulsive woman I have ever seen.
Yeah, so if she can just be a lady and be good at what she's there to do, I would just be fine.
Yeah.
Or maybe even have her have some muscles or something like the men do, possibly.
And it would be nice if some of the evil lady stand users, if we also got to learn a little bit more about their backstory and motivations, because I feel like we don't really get that a lot. Usually, I feel like the guys, they're just oh, they're from us here, and they're criminal, and Dio found them, and they like him because he's so charismatic. And then the ladies, it's just We just know that they're a stand user.
Yeah, we don't. Because, like, those two brothers, we got a little bit of an intro, and
yeah.
I guess with the sword, we kind of learned some things about it. But yeah, there's a lot of times the women are like, we learned some about Enyaba, but like they're usually like killed or disposed of before we learn anything.
Yes.
Or even them kind of like declaring their love for Dio or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could use a little bit more of that. Especially with this being a two-parter, they should tell more about her.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to take effort to split this up into 2 episodes. Then we can have more backstory.
I'm just thinking about it now. Like, none of these people have, like, usually, like, a pet or anything.
Yeah.
You can have, like, a dangerous, like, a tiger with them, or, like, they're largely just taking them on one by one, even though they're a group of, 4 or 5 men, and then they just send these stand users to add them one by one. It kind of doesn't really make sense. You're kind of dooming them.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't they sending a wave of 4 or 5 of them at a time?
Tina's just like, I would like to see you die now. Okay, I think we are going to end our discussion here. Just a reminder to hit the follow/subscribe buttons and leave us a comment or review depending on the platform you're listening to this on. And if you don't want to get spoiled by next week's episodes, you should watch those ahead of time. And those episodes
be Bast's Mariah Part 2
and Sets Alessi Part 1. Tune into the podcast if you want to hear us talk more about JoJo. And thank you for listening.
Hit all those buttons for us and share with your friends.
So until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.